This is The Point of View. We are live on Citi TV. It's your #1 current affairs show on TV that picks the right issues, and we bring you the right guests. We ask them relevant questions, and we come up with some useful insights. It's interactive. We really want to hear from you as you watch the show. If you're watching on Facebook, you can send us your comment below the stream. And if you're following on any other means, our hashtag is Point of View. We also have a WhatsApp number on the screen where you can get in touch. Tonight's show is going to be Pan-African in focus, because I have a United Nations General Assembly, almost, or maybe an AU group here. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back to The Point of View. So in the past few days, rioters have caused mayhem in Johannesburg, South Africa's major commercial capital. Some have blamed just the question of criminality. Others say it's xenophobia. Be that as it may, the Nigerian government has summoned South Africa's High Commissioner in that country and asked for some critical issues to be dealt with. South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa has condemned the attacks. So on Point of View tonight, we find out what's really going on in South Africa. Is it xenophobia? Is it just economic frustration? Are there other underlying issues driving this latest spate of violence? And where does this leave Africa's agenda of unity? What about the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement? In fact, Nigeria, we are told, has boycotted a World Economic Forum event in Johannesburg. I'm going to speak to two very interesting people and also cross over to South Africa to speak to some people on the show tonight. If you have relatives in that country or you're concerned about what's happening in that part of the world, send us your views. We'll hear from you. Before I introduce my guest, I'm going to take you to South Africa, where President Cyril Ramaphosa has been speaking about the situation. He's condemned the violence.
I've directed the Minister of Police to have a meeting at hostels with the indunas, because this violence is now mutating and taking different forms that represent themselves in a way that we do not want to see in South Africa, where communities seem to be attacking one another. So we want this to stop, and I want it to stop immediately. The people of our country want to live in harmony, and whatever grievance and concerns that people have, we need to handle it in a democratic way. We need to handle it by discussing concerns and problems that we may have. And we've done so very well in the past on a number of other very difficult issues. And this is precisely what we should continue doing. So there is just no justification whatsoever for any South African to go out of their way to attack people from other countries. We need to act in a way where we give respect to people from other countries and show them that they are welcome to be in our country. We need to deal with our own problems in a way where we sit down and discuss those issues with the various structures that we have. We cannot accept sense that South Africans do not welcome Africans or other people from other countries. We cannot do that, because we are welcomed in other countries. Right now, we are part of the whole continent having inaugurated the Africa Free Trade Area Agreement. So our drivers are now going to be afraid to drive vehicles in other countries. And there's just no justification whatsoever for people who have a sense that their jobs are being taken by people from foreign lands to attack them, to destroy properties, and actually to kill them. This must be stopped. I've directed the Minister of Police to have a meeting at hostels with the indunas, because this violence is now mutating and taking different forms that represent themselves in a way that we do not want to see in South Africa, where communities seem to be attacking one another. So we want this to stop, and I want it to stop immediately. The people of our country want to live in harmony, and whatever grievance and concerns that people have, we need to handle it in a democratic way. We need to handle it by discussing concerns and problems that we may have. And we've done so very well in the past on a number of other very difficult issues. And this is precisely what we should continue doing. So there is just no justification whatsoever for any South African to go out of their way to attack people from other countries. We need to act in a way where we give respect to people from other countries and show them that they are welcome to be in our country. We need to deal with our own problems in a way where we sit down and discuss those issues with the various structures that we have. We cannot accept sense that South Africans do not welcome Africans or other people from other countries. We cannot do that because we are welcomed in other countries. Right now, we are part of the whole continent having inaugurated the Africa Free Trade Area Agreement. So our drivers are now going to be afraid to drive vehicles in other countries. And there's just no justification whatsoever for people who have a sense that their jobs are being taken by people from foreign lands to attack them, to destroy properties, and actually to kill them. This must be stopped.
So this must be stopped. President Cyril Ramaphosa, trade unionist, lawyer, businessman, president of South Africa, reeling from the pressure. So I have a very interesting panel today. I have a Cameroonian peace and security expert who's lived and is living in South Africa for 15 years. And he's in Ghana for a peace and security conference to celebrate Kofi Annan. Is that a good way of introducing you? So 15 years in South Africa, originally from Cameroon, in Ghana because of Kofi Annan. So you're an international guy. Hopefully you'll be a Kofi Annan soon. He's in the presence of Charles Nyunkonge. I'll ask him about Cameroonian footballers, why they are so good, why they are so difficult to beat. I also have a Nigerian businessman who's been in Ghana for 24 years. He is the chairman of the Nigerian Traders Association of Ghana, Chukwu Emeka Naji. Great to have you on the show again.
Thank you, Bernard.
I always invite you when there's trouble. You are my troubleshooter. How are you?
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Ashan. Good evening to you.
So we have Ghana, Nigeria, Cameroon, South Africa on the table. So Charles, you've lived in South Africa for 15 years.
That's correct.
What's going on there? Explain what's happening to us.
What is happening in South Africa, we can explain it from two broad lenses. The first is a global wave of nationalism, which we have seen, for instance, in the US. We have equally seen that in the UK, where the people are rising and saying they feel disenfranchised and the opportunities are not sufficient for the locals. And this is largely due to triple challenges of poverty, inequality, and unemployment, which are on the rise the world over. So the people who feel disenfranchised are eventually rising. And this is not different from South Africa. The second is the fact that South Africa, in its post-apartheid transition, the government engaged in certain agreements which the people have waited for certain goods to be delivered, and many of them have not been delivered. So now the African National Congress is pressured, and what we are seeing is a government that does not have access to some of the demands of the people is looking for scapegoats, and of course the people are actually taking that opportunity. Third and lastly, and very quickly, is the fact that yes, the xenophobic attacks in South Africa are recurrent, the first of which was in 2008 in May. But the recent ones, the difference is that they were actually provoked, and provoked by foreign nationals. And I say this without mixing words, that before now, you had never heard, even when it happened, that Nigerians were targeted. But today, Nigerians are actually flagged. And that is simply because this really started when a Nigerian drug lord, supposedly in Pretoria, shot and killed a taxi driver in South Africa. And if you understand the culture of South Africa, you would understand that the taxi drivers are the people to fear, because they all act like mad kids from one mother. So that got the taxi drivers to down their tools in Pretoria and to actually go straight for the Nigerian shops. And that is what has actually just gone out of control or spiraled out of control. When it was growing out of control, of course, certain people obtained the right to protest peacefully, and they were going to areas where Nigerians predominantly occupy, and the Nigerians blocked access. It is even reported that some Nigerians got the police beaten, and that got the police minister very enraged. That notwithstanding, no one should be killed for any reason. And I think that is what we should all jointly condemn, the extent of the violence, but we need to understand that South Africa comes from a very bloody past. The SSR, the demobilization, reintegration has not been completed. There are still arms which are lying around. It is actually, in certain places, easier to obtain a firearm than to obtain a stick of cigarette or even to obtain a meal.
Wow.
Consequently, when there's an opportunity for violence, it is also an opportunity for looters to actually get out, or for criminality and organized crime.
Just to be clear, are you saying on the third point that this is the first time that the attacks have focused on just one group? Because I thought Nigerians had been attacked earlier, and that even when the MTN challenges were being faced in Nigeria, some people felt it was a sort of a tit for tat from Nigeria because their citizens had been attacked in South Africa in the previous round of attacks. So I'm surprised you're saying that this is the first time that the attacks have focused on just one, because all the stories coming out are that it's Nigerians who are being attacked.
This is the first time that the xenophobic attack has been provoked.
Okay.
This is the first time that it has been provoked, and it is the first time that it is systematically targeting Nigerians. Yes, Nigerians have been attacked before. Nigerians have been victims of crime before. For instance, there is a high-profile Nigerian personality, I think in the financial sector, who was killed in a hotel in South Africa, in Emperor's Palace, I think about 3 months ago. That has strained relations between South Africa and Nigeria. South Africa has not been able to answer questions about how that could happen in a five-star hotel, and consequently, with the tension, even the Nigerians have not been happy with how they're being treated in the country. Their businesses are not protected. So it's gotten to a point where, respectfully so, and some of the Nigerians themselves have citizenship, so they can actually fight the government because they're actually citizens. And I think that is where we are right now, where there is total confusion about who deserves the rights to the resources of the country. The South Africans think that they deserve the rights to even the jobs that are on the streets. I heard on television some people saying that if the Nigerians or whichever foreigners stop selling on the streets, it's an opportunity for them to sell on the streets.
Let me deal with the Nigeria part of the equation, then I'll come back to you, because we have graphs that show attacks against foreigners for the past 15 or so years, and it makes for interesting reading. We've also seen footages of people from Somalia, Ethiopia, even Mali, claiming they've been attacked in this last round. But Chukwu, what is the feeling in Nigeria? Because I know you're in touch with Lagos quite often.
Yeah.
When you hear that your citizens are being targeted, particularly in South Africa, what's the message circulating through the Nigerian media and social media about this situation? What have you heard?
Okay, thank you very much, Bernard. I want to tell you that the recent attack goes beyond bound. Nigeria has been on attack in South Africa for years. I remember during the time of good luck, it has deported Nigerians that traveled to South Africa for reasons they gave, and there's a kind of retaliation from the government. The businesses have been attacked severally, and they labeled them with a lot of names. They are drug this, they are that. There's no place that crime has not been committed. Nigeria is not the only country that deals on drugs. Everybody does that. But I'm not going to dwell on that. Yesterday, everybody was so furious. And I tell you that the retaliation was not a surprise issue. Because even in Ghana here, some of us here, we call ourselves, and what we're saying we are actually showing the anger in us because we don't see the reason that should happen to one country from everywhere. And South Africans, there's so many things they can say is the reason why they are doing what they are doing. And I can tell you, most of the things they say are not facts. So we are not happy, that's one. Everybody felt like the government should act immediately, and thank God they did today. And everybody felt that why do we fight to protect African brothers and we are being under attack from the same people? We are surprised on that. I think by now South Africans should know that we are one. And when you touch one, you touch all.
We've seen some videos from Nigeria suggesting that some South Africans were being attacked. There's a report in the East African today that South Africa's MTN has shut its Nigeria stores after some Nigerians attacked South African workers in MTN, or MTN workers in 3 states. Can you confirm if this indeed happened?
I can't confirm it or truly because there's a video circulating, but I don't know where the video is coming from. I didn't get the correct source to say yes or no. But yes, there's a messages that is going around that there is a shops, offices of MTN that were shut down in operation for today. There's also the news of ShopRite, but I can't confirm it or deny it.
Let me show viewers a message, a statement from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Abuja, signed by Ferdinand Nwonye, who's a spokesperson for the foreign minister. And essentially saying that the government of Nigeria condemns totally the renewed attacks on foreign nationals and their businesses in South Africa, which has led to the loss of lives and properties worth millions of naira. So this is obviously targeted at the Nigerian audience. The government of Nigeria is engaging with the relevant South African authorities via the Nigerian High Commission in Pretoria, Consulate General in Joburg, and Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Abuja to ensure that definite measures are put in place to curtail the unfortunate attacks. The federal government commends the arrest of some perpetrators of the dastardly acts by the South African police and calls on timely prosecution to serve as deterrent. However, due to the tension created by the attacks, the government of Nigeria wishes to advise Nigerians to avoid traveling to high-risk and volatile areas until the situation is brought under control. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs wishes to assure the general public that government is committed to protecting lives and properties of Nigerians. And whilst I was on air, a Nigerian journalist friend just sent me a message that Nigeria wants to evacuate its national from South Africa by Friday. This is what a journalist is sending to us whilst we are on air. Let me come back to you, because in the past, South Africans have attacked Zambians. They've attacked Zimbabweans. And from the information I have, even Ethiopians have borne the brunt of South African fury. Can you explain why this happens so frequently? And whilst you're talking, I'll put up a graph, because the graph shows that in 2008 and 2015, there you have it, it's almost like every 7 or so years. So 2008, threats, attacks, and killings. This is from the BBC, 110. 2010, about 50. 2012, about 50. 2013, 2014, between 40 and 30. 2015, about 70. And now we're probably going back to 2015 levels. Apart from the 3 things you've mentioned, what's your reaction to this, and what drives? Is this waves of economic? Is this in tandem with a president's poor performance? Explain this to us.
Well, I'm not sure what variables were used to actually derive the graphs which BBC has, but suffice to say that the wave of violence, like I see it, is really perpetrated sometimes by opportunistic criminal networks. And how they work is 3 of us could sit on this table, design a well-crafted message threatening a people who sell in some shop downtown, and tell them that on this day, if they don't leave, we are going to come there, we are going to kill them and loot their shops. What happens is they simply put it on social media, and with the power that social media has today, it floats around, and some people take that very seriously. And on the set days, those people do not go to their shops. consequently, it becomes an opportunity, therefore, for those criminals to actually engage that. And I think that is the part where the government is really struggling to sell a message to say this is not really xenophobia, this is criminal activity which needs to be confronted in that particular way. And secondly, if I were to just look at what the meaning of xenophobia is, and I have to go etymologically, xeno is the fear of.
Phobia is the fear of.
Phobia is the fear of, and xeno is
foreign.
foreign.
Yeah.
And if you have to put it together, when you fear someone, you actually do not go to attack. I fear a lion, for instance. I do not go to attack a lion. So somewhere it ran ability to that notion that if the people who are perpetrating this are really scared of those foreigners, they are not really going to attack. They're going to find other means. And I think this is where the narrative gets complicated as to what this is. And somewhere, somehow, you would think that the South African judiciary or the security sector is going to be very decisive in bringing an end to it. But unfortunately, in many of the videos that we have seen where people have been burnt, the police has actually been right there. But this doesn't only speak to the police. There have been several attempts by high-level policymakers to find ways of justifying it and saying, well, South Africans are fighting against drug lordism, they are fighting against the corruption by foreign nationals, and that does not help because we are not confronting a problem which the society has, the problem of violence. Because that problem of violence does not only affect foreign nationals, it also affects the women and the students of South Africa. And that is something which the country needs to look at itself in the face.
So it's a violence issue more than simply attacking foreigners.
I think the broader problem is that the society is very violent and the people are disgruntled by the gains of post-apartheid. There's a growing segment of the country that thinks that the political power which the African National Congress got was not good enough. Consequently, the struggle to find an economic space for the Africans, and that is why you see parties such as the Economic Freedom Party actually rising very powerfully to the front.
We'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll talk about Julius Malema, because we have a video of him advising South Africans to stop attacking black people. Why are the attacks targeted at only blacks? There are other foreigners in South Africa. We'll also find out what is it with Nigeria and the troubles they face? Because even in Ghana, we've had challenges. They've been struggling. I interviewed my friend here a few months ago because Nigerian traders were being asked to close their shops. Is it just their population? Or is it that they work so hard that when they do well, people envy them? This is the point of view. We'll read your comments to stay with us. This is the point of view. We are trying to understand the situation in South Africa. With the past few days, over 90 people arrested, predominantly foreigners being attacked by South Africans. And the story is what we're trying to unravel. My guest is a peace and security expert, originally from Cameroon. He's lived in South Africa for a decade and a half. He's in the person of Charles Nkonge. He's in Ghana as part of a conference to celebrate Kofi Annan's legacy. Great to have you on the show. I also have my friend Chukwuemeka Naji, who's the head of the Nigerian Traders Union. And I've had him on the show before. And I'll ask you a question about Nigeria. But let me show you Julius Malema. So Charles alluded to EFCC. And Malema is this rambunctious, charismatic, possibly demagogic, if you want, young South African opposition leader who's captured the attention of a sizable chunk of the population. Here is a video of him speaking to his party about these attacks.
Stop your self-hatred. Stop attacking our brothers from Africa, our sisters from Africa. We are one thing. You say batata umsebenzi. Even if we expel them tomorrow, you will still not get a job. There are no jobs in South Africa because whites are refusing to invest money in South Africa. They've got too many savings in the bank. They've got trillions in the bank. They are refusing to take it out. and build industries. There is no Nigerian who stole an industry and hired Nigerians only. There is no Zimbabwean who's got a farm in Neisner or Stellenbosch who hired Zimbabweans. It is your white people who hire Zimbabweans, pay them low so that you can fight amongst yourself as Africans. See them for what they are. Bias Luis and Amabantu, they are causing divisions amongst Africa. Don't glorify these borders. Uti, hey, there is Zimbabwe, there is Nigeria. These borders were never here. These borders were imposed on us by white people who wanted to divide Africa and do what they wanted to do with this continent of Africa. I am ashamed today to call myself a South Africans. The image that are coming out of Durban make me to be ashamed. You are beating blacks, you are slaughtering Africans. I've never seen you doing that to a Chinese. I've never seen you doing that to a white person who doesn't have papers. I've never seen you do that to an Indian without papers. But once they say it's an African, because you hate yourself, because white people taught you to hate yourself, you kill other Africans. Stop that nonsense. It ends today. We must unite.
Julius Malema, quite an incredible character. I'll take comments on this, but let me cross over and speak to a Ghanaian living in South Africa, Raymond Kisi, just to give us a Ghanaian perspective of what's going on in South Africa. Raymond, thank you for joining us. You're joining us on Skype, by the way, and so we hope you are able to follow. Raymond, great to have you. Thank you for joining us on Citi TV.
Thank you too, sir.
So, how are you, and where in South Africa are you, and are you safe?
Yeah, I'm safe, and I'm in the eastern corridors of South Africa, Butterworth to be precise. Yeah.
What is local media reporting, and what is happening?
My brother, it's very, very funny because since they started this xenophobic attacks, there's also been another incident, which is the gender-based violence, which is really going on here in South Africa. So they are really paying attention to that kind of sector more than the xenophobic attack. And it's very funny that not even the minister or the president is saying much or highlighting much on this xenophobic attack issues.
So what's going on with the attacks against women? Give us some quick. What is it? Who is doing these attacks, and how many attacks have happened?
You know, it's always been like this from day one. If you really hear a lot of information about what is going on in South Africa, you realize that men rape women just like that, you know, and then they kill them. It's been going on for a while. So it's quite unfortunate it had to happen last week, whilst they also started this, xenophobic attack. And they are rather paying attention to this whole issue than to pay attention to the xenophobic attacks.
So the femicide, attack against women, is capturing the imagination of the South African more than the xenophobia. So who has been speaking? Yeah. What have the major politicians been saying? And how are the streets of Joburg and Pretoria and all these places? What has been the consequence of this violence?
To be honest with you, Joburg and Pretoria is the hotspot currently, and I wouldn't advise anybody to be around that side to do business or any other personal stuff, because those places are the hotspots for now, you know. And with the gender-based violence issue, you know, they've been having this whole street, strike, which they've been really paying attention to in Cape Town and Durban. In fact, it's a whole shutdown in the country. People are posting on WhatsApp and on their social platforms, just trying to push this whole gender-based thing. Yeah.
We spoke to the Ghana's High Commissioner of South Africa on Citi FM earlier, who said so far no Ghanaian had been attacked. Are you in touch with other Ghanaians, and have you guys taken any particular precautions?
You know, it's a lie if they say no Ghanaian has been attacked, because Ghanaian shops, you know, the major jobs we do here as Ghanaians are saloon works. You know, a few of us teach, and these are the jobs Ghanaians do. You know, it's very funny. Let me take you off a little bit from the question. Senegals sell clothes. They're into fashion, boutique, and clothing, you know, business. Our Nigerian brothers tend to sell food. You know, some Ghanaians tend to sell food, but our major business that we do or we involve ourselves in is saloon work and teaching. And, you know, they've destroyed all our saloons. They've raided, looted things, and some Ghanaians have been affected. Here's the case that the Ghana embassy is not really trying or pushing enough to find out where its people is, and
Okay.
that's very, very sad.
Let me quote the High Commissioner correctly. He said no Ghanaian had been killed. No Ghanaian had been killed. I think that was the question he was asked, so it's my mistake.
Good.
He didn't say no Ghanaian.
Yeah.
He said no Ghanaian had been killed because he was asked whether there were any Ghanaian casualties in terms of death. So point of correction there. But you're saying the Ghanaians run shops, the Ghanaians are teaching. So those of you who teach and those who teach as well, do they feel they are being attacked? Because when we watch the stories, it appears it's more the shops that are being attacked.
Now, the looting and the beating, killing is going on in town. You wouldn't be able to go to work. Definitely, you have to go into hiding. You know, so all these guys are home, and when you are home for a week without working, trust me, what would you eat? What are you going to do? You understand me? So it's very stressful, my brother. We are all hiding and just trying to seek good protection somewhere.
Well, we wish you well, and wherever you're hiding, please stay there. And thank you for talking to us. We will keep checking on you so that if there's any new development, you get to us. Thank you. That was Raymond Kisi. He's a Ghanaian living in South Africa. Very interesting insights about the various West Africans. So Nigerians usually sell food. Ghanaians do hairdressing. Senegalese sell clothes. That's not surprising at all. Yeah. But your people seem to... Is it because you are many? It's not just South Africa. Nigerians seem to attract a lot of... Is it that Nigerians live together when they go abroad? What is it about? Or is it just because you are the Africa's giant?
Okay, I think they are all in part. Because they live together is also part of it. Because when you are together, you do business together, it will help you to prosper easily. For instance, if you have $100 and I also have $100, we can put it together and do a business and make more profit. It will help us to grow faster. And this is a system we are using, like what I shared with you before. We train ourselves in business, and we help ourselves to grow. Like 3 major tribes in Nigeria, they are unique in their own way of doing business, and everywhere they are, they will prosper because they know what to do. Business is all about knowing what to do and how to do it. And before you know anything, you have to learn, you have to be trained. It's unlike other African people who, if you go to school, you want to become boss of your own. Nigerians are not like that. Even in education center, you see them learning from each other.
They are very entrepreneurial.
They are very entrepreneurial. So, and that attracts a lot of attacks on us. I tell you what, I was just discussing with my brother, and I told him that I'm building a house in Ghana. After the attack, I don't feel like continue. But the house already started bringing kind of jealousy on me because of the kind of way I want to build it. And I started.
So those who live abroad, who prosper, they attract local envy.
Yes. It happens. If you see everywhere Nigeria lives, even in Ghana here, where they build their houses, it's special, it's unique. And the people see it's like, what these people try to tell us, that we don't know how to do. But nobody stops you from learning. We learn from everywhere. Nigerians learn from America, they learn from Europe, they learn from even Africa here. Wherever we go, whatever we see that is good, we learn. So
I wanted to watch Malema again because, Charles, I haven't heard somebody as eloquent as that in a while in South Africa. I mean, I'm sure you've seen him personally. How big is he in South? Because, I mean, listening to him talking, I understood everything he said. It's very clear he's a good communicator, and he's touching some very serious nerves. He's talking about white people dividing Africans. He's asking some pertinent questions. And I'm not saying I support everything he says, but is the Malema view that we just aired representative of I mean, how popular is what he's saying with ordinary South Africans?
Malema's views more broadly actually resonate with the black South Africans, if I may use that terminology to describe the Africans. He's used more broadly. But on the specific issue of xenophobia or Afrophobia, if I may, where he's encouraging open borders, he's discouraging or he's against black hate or black violence against blacks. I don't think that view has gained as much currency considering the repetitive nature of the violence. But I think that it is a good start. He seems to be the only person on course and quite categorical. You would have seen the video, for instance, from the president. If you have to contrast those, you can see that there's one person who is really passionate and who is really appealing to a populace to say, this has to end, while the other person looks like he's doing a scripted message.
So, how popular is he?
Well, popularity, first of all, cannot be measured. But there seems to be growing consensus that in South Africa, the country has two main politicians who are politicians.
Okay.
Politicians who are politicians in the sense that people who have the ear of the masses and have broader appeal.
Mm-hmm.
And respectfully, it's Malema and the former president Jacob Zuma. These are the persons who today can actually call the population to arms and actually burn the country.
Are you serious?
So that's the extent to which if you have to see the conduct of his MPs, for instance, in parliament, something can just tell you that if he has to call his people together and say, let us commit havoc, that the country is going to run into flames. Because they called, for instance, I'm not too sure whether this was a serious move. They called, he asked his militants to occupy lands, lands which supposedly were dispossessed from Africans during apartheid. And they moved into occupying the lands. Some of the people were sued, and he said, I'm going to represent you in court. And
is he a lawyer?
The lands have actually been occupied in certain places, and that's when we have realized that some of those lands, the people who own them, are not even in the country, they've not been there, they're not even contesting it.
Wow.
And thus, that's the power that his instructions give. Says, occupy land which is not yours, and you see people occupying land.
And he's still below 40 years old?
Yes, he's below
38.
He's 38.
And you say Zuma has more appeal than even Ramaphosa?
Zuma has the sort of appeal which Malema has. It's just that becoming president caused him to be restrained in some of the things which he says. But he's one of those, for instance, that if he were to stand in KwaZulu-Natal and say, let's burn this country, and mobilize, for instance, the taxi industry and say, this country must shut down, I bet you the country could...
So he's Zulu?
He is Zulu.
But is Malema Zulu?
Malema is not Zulu. Malema, incidentally, is from Limpopo, the province where the current president comes from, Cyril Ramaphosa. But Malema's appeal is more to the youth.
The youth.
And the disenfranchised or the disgruntled populace who actually are above the youth bracket.
I just checked South Africa. You have 30% of South Africans are living in, if I can just get these facts quickly, 29% unemployment rate, 6.6 million people without a job. 30% of South Africans have no access to running water. 13% live in informal dwellings. You have 2.5 million migrants in the country, also seeking protection and jobs. This creates a certain desperate melting pot. What is Ramaphosa's performance? He's supposed to be a businessman, lawyer, trade unionist guy. Is it too early to judge him, or is he, because his election victory was also very small, so is he bound to fail? What's happening to him?
Let me step out of your question and tell you, for instance, that the unemployment rate of 29% is not the worst in the African continent. Cameroon, for instance, has an unemployment rate of about 35%. You are not seeing the sort of violence in Cameroon and you're not seeing the Cameroonians hating on Nigerians who control the auto industry. I think, for instance, that unemployment rate is similar to the one which you have, for instance, in Ghana, but you're not seeing the sort of violence which you have there. Thus, it goes back to my initial point that it's a country at war with itself, and Ramaphosa has inherited a country where his party has made promises to the people, and right now the reality is that they cannot deliver on those promises. And thus, the best thing then to do is to scapegoat on someone, and the foreigners, unfortunately...
Is there a feeling that the white elite are sabotaging the black ANC people in terms of... Because Malema was suggesting that, for example, they've kept all their monies in the banks and there's no work, maybe to prove that blacks can't govern. Is there that feeling that... Because South Africa is a very wealthy country in terms of pre-apartheid, pre-Mandela, and even in the first few years of Mandela. It's a very wealthy country in terms of its all the major industries. Is there a feeling that there are people who are sabotaging the government in any way, or is it just the corruption?
It is hard for me to speak to what people feel, but suffices to say that the country's financial sector and the economic sectors of the country are predominantly controlled by the white minority, who are just about 8 or 9% of the population. The country's media is controlled by the white minority, and thus whatever information that the people get fed with is a narrative which is structured somewhere by about 1% of the country's population. And thus, whether or not we realize it, we are somehow cornered to feed the narrative which comes from the white minority. And thus there's a sense to which the South African populace feels that they have been captured. Captured by who? Something that they've been captured by a certain Indian family, the Guptas, who supposedly, amongst others, posed as threats to the white minority. And that is something which is currently being investigated. And whilst we wait for the outcome of that, but there's definitely reason to...
There's a racial dimension to the problem.
There's a racial dimension to the problem, and there's reason to take Malema seriously when he points fingers directly at the white people and makes passionate appeals, such as what he's telling the people, that whites are the ones sowing discord, they are the ones, and it's... One may try to deny it, but there's the extent to which that has an appeal.
So if Malema tells them to stop and Zuma joins him, they will stop?
If Malema tells the youth to stop,
they will stop.
They would stop. If Zuma tells the Zulus to stop, they would stop.
Wow.
These two dynamics can run the South African state aground.
They won't listen to Ramaphosa.
Ramaphosa is soft, he is diplomatic, he is tactful because he wants to maintain the economic balance. He doesn't want to lean too African at the risk of raising the fears and getting the whites to leave South Africa, which fortunately or unfortunately, they are actually leaving South Africa in their numbers as well.
The whites are leaving?
Yes, they are leaving South Africa in their numbers.
Where are they going?
They're going to the UK, they're going to Australia, and some are going to the US. You would have seen that a couple of months ago, Donald Trump tweeted that what is happening to white South Africans is really, really unfair, we must do something. That's because the white nationalist movements eventually got the appeal and his ear.
I'll take your views on that, but I want to watch Malema again, just because you say they will listen to him. So maybe let's hear him again before we take a break. South Africans watching, this is probably your next president, who knows? He's speaking directly to you. Listen to what he said.
Self-hatred. Stop attacking our brothers from Africa, our sisters from Africa. We are one thing. You say batata umsebenzi. Even if we expel them tomorrow, you will still not get a job. There are no jobs in South Africa because whites are refusing to invest money in South Africa. They've got too many savings in the bank. They've got trillions in the bank. They are refusing to take it out and build industries. There is no Nigerian who stole an industry and hired Nigerians only. There is no Zimbabwean who's got a farm in Neisner or Stellenbosch who hired Zimbabweans. It is your white people who hire Zimbabweans, pay them low so that you can fight amongst yourselves as Africans. See them for what they are. Bias Luis Alababantu, they are causing divisions amongst Africa. Don't glorify these borders. Uti, hey, there is Zimbabwe, there is Nigeria. These borders were never here. These borders were imposed on us by white people who wanted to divide Africa and do what they wanted to do with this continent. I am ashamed today to call myself a South Africans. The image that are coming out of Durban make me to be ashamed. You are beating blacks, you are slaughtering Africans. I've never seen you doing that to a Chinese. I've never seen you doing that to a white person who doesn't have papers. I've never seen you do that to an Indian without papers. But once they say it's an African, because you hate yourself, because white people taught you to hate yourself, you kill other Africans. Stop that nonsense. It ends today. We must unite as Africans.
Welcome back to The Point of View. We are live in Accra, Ghana. I have a Cameroonian who's lived in South Africa for 15 years. I have a Nigerian who's lived in Ghana for 24 years. Putting that together, we have almost 39 years of African experience on this show. We just got a message from Nigeria, and this is from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Abuja. Air peace to evacuate Nigerians from South Africa. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs wishes to inform the general public that following the recent unfortunate xenophobic attacks on foreign nationals, including Nigerians in South Africa, the proprietor of Air Peace Airline, Chief Allen Onyema, has volunteered to send an aircraft from Friday, 6 September, to evacuate Nigerians who wish to return to Nigeria free of charge. The general public is hereby advised to inform their relatives in South Africa to take advantage of the laudable gesture. Interested Nigerians are therefore advised to liaise with the High Commission of Nigeria in Pretoria and the Consulate General of Nigeria in Johannesburg for further necessary arrangement. Signed by Ferdinand Nwonye, spokesperson for the Foreign Affairs Ministry. This is not the first time Nigerians will be attacked in South Africa or any other country.
Yeah.
Why is this so? Why are Nigerians so angry in respect of this particular one to force the government to make this announcement? What is so annoying about this one?
Yes, but if you are following this story, it's not up to 2 weeks. A guy was killed for doing nothing. They show him at a restaurant. The police went there and picked him up, took him to his house, and eventually killed him. It was recorded. It was on the news. We're just talking about it.
Really?
Yes. It's not just about last week that
Police picked him up?
Yes, police killed him. In fact, there's
in South Africa?
In South Africa. Just last month.
It's been circulating in your Nigerian WhatsApp groups.
I believe in the whole world. If you go to Facebook, it's there. You know, we were talking about that. And the commissioner for Nigeria in diaspora was furious. They were talking about going to visit, trying to do all this government talk and all these things. And this one just happened. There's a story that said about 120-something Nigeria have been killed, and 13 of them were killed by police themselves. Now, this is a situation we are facing, and nobody will be happy with this. And I tell you what, yesterday, one of my executives called me and said, what are we going to do? I was so angry that I communicated with Chairman Naido Africa Continent, and I told him, what are you people doing? They had a meeting, it was inconclusive, and they said they're continuing today. Of course, I'm here, I'm not going to listen. But then, what I wanted them to do is to put up a right. In fact, I was even ready to march to South Africa High Commissioner residence in Abuja to, show our displeasure about what is going on. That is not how Africa should live. We should understand each other. If somebody commits crime, like my brother was just pointing out, you deal with that person individual. But not picking people doing nothing. If you suspect somebody is dealing a drug, you went to his house, you don't find a drug, then you kill him. If you suspect somebody is having a gun, you went to his guy, you don't see the gun, you kill him. Is it have to police or what?
We've seen a video of a Nigerian student leader asking South Africans to leave Nigeria. We haven't confirmed the date. That's why we haven't aired it. But
it says 7 days. But that is just
so this is recent.
Yeah, it's recent. But that is when after the South African owner was already shown. I don't know whether you've also seen it. The South Africa student union leader also make a video and telling on Nigerians should leave South Africa. So
really?
Yes. You see, it's a pure attack. All these paints of words that are coming from international whatever group, it's just it. But
I'm going to read a few comments, and I have a few tweets and Facebook posts that people have sent, which paint a very gloomy picture of what's going on. So Sami and Co will be putting it, but let me read a few comments. Good evening, Bernard. Has any church or clergyman spoken about the xenophobic attacks? What about the AU? People must emancipate themselves from mental slavery. Say no to xenophobia. This is Edmund from Teshin. Good evening, Bernard. Today I'm saddened as a Ghanaian and an African because of the happenings in South Africa. It makes a lot of meaning to note the speech by Dr. Nkrumah at the inauguration of the AU. The founding fathers, including Mandela, would be equally saddened by this. Stop xenophobic attacks. This is from Baba Abotre from Ashali Botre, St. Peter's. It's so pathetic for Africans to experience such incessant barbaric attacks from South Africa, who suffered the same phenomena. This is Stephen in Kintampo. Samidria in Kasua says, it starts to see our own African brothers do this to their fellow Africans. AU must take action against South Africa now. I'll ask my guests whether AU can exist without South Africa and what actions can be taken from a continental point of view. David Osabote says, what a sad week in South Africa. The problem in South Africa is the African people. The Ghanaian sees himself as a Ghanaian, the South African sees himself as South African, and the Nigerian sees as a Nigerian. It's time we started seeing ourselves as Africans as we are. Farouk in Tema, the land of Madiba has criminally disgraced and betrayed the struggle for black Africans. Those involved in the attacks are cowards. Eric Ajin Kusi says, the challenge with our Nigerian brothers is that the bad ones outshine the good ones. Meanwhile, Berima Demi says, Malema is a great character. I simply can't get enough of him. If I had time, I'll add more. So let me end with Charles. Can AU do anything? How is this thing going to be resolved? Or is it a South Africa thing that they have to resolve?
I think the first thing is we need to ask ourselves, when we talk about AU, what are we referring to? Because there's the AU, which is the AU Commission, which is based in Addis Ababa, headed by Mr. Faki. And there's the AU, which is the summit, or whose leadership is the Summit of Heads of States, where you and I are represented by our respective presidents. Now, that is the most important organ of the AU because the Secretariat takes instruction and mandate
from those guys.
From those guys. Thus, if you're expecting the AU as the AU, which is the heads of states coming together to respond, that response is not going to come immediate. There's an extraordinary summit which is coming up in November. Maybe this is going to make itself into the agenda. If this is actually still an issue by then, I suspect it will no longer be an issue by then. But the AU as the commission has actually issued a statement condemning it. And that is the best which they can do. The AU as a commission does not have the powers to actually
sanction South Africa.
Sanction a member state, because a member state is a part of that club, which only, for instance, maybe the Peace and Security Council can actually sanction, but those sanctions can even be reversed by the summit, as we saw, for instance, in the case of Burundi. Thus, I think, and respectfully, I think the action of Nigeria of evacuating those who are willing to leave South Africa is one which is laudable. I wish there were more states that were doing that, so that once and for all we stop from this thing of just condemning
and doing something.
We actually do something.
Brilliant.
And perhaps get to experiment this whole thing of this inter-African dependence. Does South Africa truly depend on African states?
Okay.
I think if the Nigerians were to leave, we are going to see some significant change, because the Nigerians who are in South Africa, very few of them rely on government jobs, rely on any government handouts, and these are the businessmen. So if they have to leave, significantly, if other Africans had to leave, South Africa will start feeling the pinch which Malema is saying, that if Africans leave, you are still not going to get jobs.
We'll leave it here. Thank you, Charles Newkonge, who's a Cameroonian. He's a peace and security expert. He's been living in South Africa for 15 years. We hope you enjoy your next 2 days in Ghana. My good friend as well, Chukwuemeka Naji, who's the president of Nigerian Traders Union of Ghana. My name is Bernard Avle. Thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed it. Stay with Citi TV. See you next time.